that led to large public plazas. The huge platform mounds were capped by temples, tombs, or palaces. The top of the biggest mound is the size of a football pitch. And Cahokia didn't stand alone. Satellite towns spread out across the fertile floodplain of the Mississippi. In fact, Cahokia is the biggest prehistoric earthwork surviving anywhere in the Americas. The sophistication of Cahokia is one reason why we must begin a series about US history with the American Indians. But there's an even more important reason. Sophisticated or not, these people were the original inhabitants of the continent. The Europeans didn't colonize virgin land. The builders of Cahokia were descendants of people who'd settled in North America by 12,000 BC. They came not from Europe, but from Asia, and they travelled by land, or more exactly, over a land bridge between Siberia and Alaska that opened up briefly at the end of the last Great Ice Age, across what are now the waters of the Bering Strait. So the Americas were settled from north to south, but the dynamic of their development ran in the opposite direction, from south to north. The most advanced region was the area from Peru to Mexico, home to the empires of the Incas and the Aztecs. When the Spanish adventurer Hernán Cortés reached Mexico in 1519, he was astonished at Aztec society.
There is in the city a market where each and every day upward of 30,000 people come to buy and sell provisions as well as clothing and footwear. These people live almost like those of Spain, and in as much harmony and order as there. And considering that they are barbarous and so far from the knowledge of God and cut off from all civilized nations, it is remarkable to see what they have achieved in all things.
And it probably was from examples in Mexico that the Indians further north learned to build cities like Cahokia. Just how many cities we don't know, because they didn't leave written records, and along the Mississippi they built in wood. On the arid plateaus of the Southwest, however, in what are now the states of Arizona and New Mexico, the Indians built in dried mud or sandstone blocks, and much more of their work has survived. James Simpson, a US Army surveyor, was part of a detachment of soldiers sent out from Santa Fe in 1849 to reconnoitre Navajo Indian country. En route, Simpson and some companions looked over some ruins known locally as the Pueblo Pintado, or the Painted Village.
We found them to more than answer to our expectations, discovering in the masonry a combination of science and art which can only be referred to a higher state of civilization and refinement than is discoverable in the works of Mexicans or Pueblos of the present day. At different points about the premises, there were 3 circular apartments sunk in the ground, the walls being masonry, where the people held their political and religious meetings. Fragments of pottery lay scattered around, the colors showing taste in their selection and in the style of their arrangement. We would gladly have remained longer to dig among the rubbish of the past. But the troops having got some miles in advance of us, we were reluctantly obliged to quit.
What Simpson stumbled on was an outlying settlement of Chaco Canyon, today listed as another World Heritage Site. The whole complex, which like Cahokia dates from around the time the Normans arrived in England, housed thousands of people and was linked to outlying settlements by hundreds of miles of roads. The inhabitants were technologically sophisticated, building small dams to catch the water from the desert thunderstorms and diverting it along canals to gardens on the canyon floor. And their whole way of organising society was intriguingly different from our modern West, as their descendants, the Hopi Indians, explained.
Among us, the family traces its kin from the mother. Hence all its possessions are hers. The man builds the house, but the woman is the owner, because she repairs and preserves it. The man cultivates the field, but he renders its harvest into the woman's keeping, because upon her it rests to prepare the food, and the surplus of stores for barter depends upon her thrift. Our fields and houses always remain with our mother's family.
At Chaco Canyon, you can still get a vivid sense of what the Native Americans achieved in their prime. At Cahokia Mounds in the Midwest, however, much of the evidence has literally been